You're not anxious. You're not stressed. You're just thinking about the conversation from this morning, about the thing you said 3 years ago, about the email you haven't sent, about the email you have sent. You've tried to stop. You've tried meditation, journaling, breathing. The thinking keeps going. Because what you're doing isn't a thinking problem. It's a prediction problem. And once you see what your brain is actually trying to solve, the loop loosens. So let me tell you what's coming in the next 15 minutes because I want you to know it's worth your time. I'm going to show you why the loop runs, the actual mechanism, not a metaphor. I'm going to show you why trying harder, thinking more carefully, being more thorough, makes it worse every single time. And then I'm going to give you one specific question. A question you can ask yourself in the middle of the loop, tonight at 2 in the morning, that exposes what your brain is really doing and tends to break the cycle when you ask it. But before we get there, 3 things you should know. They'll sound strange now. They won't by the end. The first, intelligence is not the cure for overthinking. It's the fuel. The smarter you are, the longer the loop can run before exhaustion finally shuts it off. The second, your overthinking is almost always about the same 2 or 3 things. It feels like you're examining a problem from every possible angle. You're not. You're circling the same place. And the third, there's a question you can ask mid-loop that breaks it. We'll get there. Stay with me. Let's start with what overthinking actually is, because everyone talks about it like it's a habit or a flaw or a sign that something's wrong with you. It's none of those things. Your brain is a prediction machine. That's its core job, not to react to the world, but to forecast it. Every moment, your brain is running a model of what's about to happen next, and then checking that model against what actually happens. When the prediction matches reality, the brain relaxes. When it doesn't, when there's a gap between what you expected and what occurred, the brain flags it. That gap has a name in neuroscience. It's called prediction error, and your brain hates it. Prediction error is the signal that says, you don't understand this situation well enough yet. Keep modeling. Keep simulating. Don't file this away as safe until the model holds together. Now, most of the time this works beautifully. You predict the stair will be where the stair is. It is. No error. You move on. You predict your friend will text back. They do. No error. You move on. But sometimes the brain runs into something it cannot resolve, a situation where it cannot generate a prediction it trusts. And when that happens, it does the only thing it knows how to do. It runs the simulation again and again and again. That's overthinking. It's not anxiety. Anxiety is the feeling, the tightness, the dread, the hum under your skin. Overthinking is the machinery underneath it. It's your prediction system cycling through version after version of the future, hunting for one, just one, that it can stamp as safe enough to stop. And here's the thing nobody tells you. The loop isn't malfunctioning. It's doing exactly what it was built to do. It's just been pointed at a problem it can't solve by thinking. If you've ever wondered why the smartest people you know are often the most stuck, the most caught in their own heads, the most exhausted by their own minds, this next part is why. Let's talk about why it doesn't stop. There's a network in your brain that switches on when you're not focused on a task. When you're not solving a maths problem, not driving in traffic, not deep in a conversation. The moment your attention isn't pinned to something, this network lights up. It's called the default mode network, and it's where your sense of self lives. It's where you replay the past, rehearse the future, narrate your own life to yourself. In most people, this network quiets down the moment a task demands attention. You focus, it recedes. You rest, it returns. In someone who overthinks, it doesn't recede. It stays on. It runs underneath everything. In the shower, on the walk, in the gap between meetings, in the dark when you're trying to sleep. It's always there, churning, because it has detected something it considers unresolved. And not a small thing. The loop doesn't run this hard over what to make for dinner. It runs this hard when the uncertainty lands in a domain your brain treats as high stakes. A relationship. Your standing with other people. Your safety. Your sense of who you are. These are the domains your nervous system was built to protect at almost any cost, because for most of human history, being wrong about whether your group accepted you wasn't an inconvenience. It was a threat to survival. So when uncertainty appears in one of those domains, did I damage that friendship? Am I respected here? Am I actually good at this? Is this relationship secure? The prediction system treats it as an emergency, and it will not stand down until it finds resolution. It keeps the default mode network running. It keeps generating simulations. It keeps you awake. This is why you can't just decide to stop. You're not choosing to think. The system has flagged a threat it can't resolve, and it's doing its job. Now here's where it gets cruel. Because you'd think, logically, that if you just thought hard enough, carefully enough, thoroughly enough, you'd eventually reach an answer and the loop would end. It's the opposite. And I need you to really understand why. Because this is the trap that costs people years. Every time you generate a new thought, your brain treats that thought as new information. And new information generates a new prediction, and every new prediction carries its own uncertainty, its own little gap, its own small error to resolve. So the thought you produced to close the loop becomes the input that opens it wider. You think, maybe I shouldn't have said that. That's a prediction that the other person took it badly, which raises a question. How badly? Which generates another thought. Well, they did pause before they answered, which is another prediction. They were offended, which raises another question. Should I apologize? Which generates another thought. On and on. The system is feeding on its own output. It's using the smoke to look for the fire. And it cannot self-terminate because every attempt to end it from the inside produces more of exactly the material that keeps it going. This is why meditation didn't fix it, why journaling didn't fix it, why every time someone told you to just stop thinking about it, you wanted to scream. Because you were trying, and trying was the thing making it worse. You weren't failing at the solution. The solution was part of the problem. You were using the broken system to try to fix itself. So if thinking harder is the trap, what's the way out? Stay with me, because this is the turning point. And if you've noticed the loop happening, even while you've been watching this, that little background hum of something unresolved, hold on to that, because we're about to make it useful. Here's what most people never realize about their own overthinking. The loop is almost never about what it appears to be about. Let me show you what I mean. You're lying awake, replaying a conversation. On the surface, you're analyzing the conversation. What they said, what you should have said. It feels like the conversation is the problem. It isn't. Your brain isn't trying to understand the conversation. It's using the conversation to answer a much older, much deeper question. Am I safe with this person? Is this relationship secure? Can I trust that I won't be abandoned? Or you're spiraling about your career. Did I make the right choice? Am I behind? Should I have done something else? It feels like you're solving a career problem. You're not. Underneath it, your brain is asking, am I enough? Am I acceptable as I am? Will I be okay? The surface content changes, the conversation, the job, the text message, the decision. But underneath, the loop is almost always circling one of a very small number of questions. Am I safe? Am I loved? Am I enough? And this is why no amount of surface thinking ever resolves it. You can analyze the conversation perfectly, reach a flawless conclusion about exactly what happened, and the loop won't stop. Because you answered the wrong question. You answered the question on the surface. The real question, the one driving the whole thing, was never even named. So the brain keeps searching, because the thing it's actually looking for was never on the table. The loop has nowhere to land, so it keeps circling, which brings us finally to the way out. Here's the part I promised you. And I want to be clear about what this is, because it isn't a trick, and it isn't going to feel like magic. It's a skill, the kind you get better at. But it works the first time you use it, even imperfectly, and you can use it tonight. The skill is not to stop thinking. You can't. We've established that. Trying to stop is part of the trap. The skill is to ask, in the middle of the loop, one question. What is my brain actually trying to solve for right now? Not, what am I thinking about? You know what you're thinking about. The question is, underneath this, what is the real thing I'm trying to settle? Am I trying to find out if I'm safe? If I'm loved? If I'm enough? If I'm going to be okay? You name it, out loud if you can. On paper if that helps, and I'll come back to why writing it down matters. But you name the actual question, not the conversation, not the email, the fear underneath it. And here's why this works mechanically, because I don't want you to just take my word for it. When you name the underlying question, two things happen in the brain at once. The first, you've just engaged a completely different system. The act of stepping back and observing your own thinking, noticing the loop instead of being inside it, is called metacognition, and it runs through different circuitry than the loop itself. The default mode network, the part that's been churning, quiets when you shift into observing. You can't be fully inside the loop and watching the loop at the same time. Naming it pulls you even slightly out. The second, and this is the important one, you've finally given the brain the actual question it was trying to answer. And now, for the first time, you can answer it. Because the real question usually has an answer the surface one never did. Am I safe with this person? You can look at the actual evidence, the years of the friendship, the fact that they've shown up before. You can say, yes, this relationship has survived worse than one awkward conversation. Or even, I don't know for certain, but I can tolerate not knowing and I don't have to solve it at 2 a.m. Am I enough? That's not a question your career was ever going to answer. But once it's named, you can meet it directly. You can recognize that your worth was never actually on trial in that work decision. The loop was using the decision as a proxy for a verdict on you. Name that, and the decision shrinks back down to the size it actually is. Do you see what just happened? You didn't stop the thoughts. You gave them somewhere to go. You answered the real question, so the brain no longer has to keep searching for it through the surface one. The prediction error, the gap the whole loop was built to close, finally closes. Not because you outthought it, because you found out what it was actually asking. That's why writing it down helps, by the way. When the question lives only in your head, it stays inside the loop, where it just becomes more material to cycle through. When you write it down, am I afraid this person is pulling away? You've moved it out of the simulation and onto the page, where you can actually look at it. You've made it an object instead of a current. So let me give it to you cleanly, the whole thing, so you have it. When you catch yourself in the loop, and you will catch it now, because you know what it feels like, you don't try to stop. You ask, what is my brain actually trying to solve for here? You let yourself find the real question underneath. Am I safe? Am I loved? Am I enough? You name it, out loud or on paper. And then you answer that question, the real one, directly, with evidence or with permission to not know, but directly. That's it. That's the exit. Not a breathing technique, not emptying your mind. A question that points the system at the problem it was actually built to solve. I want to say one more thing before we finish because I think you need to hear it. If you've spent years like this, awake at night, circling, exhausted by your own mind, wondering if you're just built wrong, I want you to understand that none of those years were a personal failing. You weren't weak. You weren't broken. You had a high-powered prediction system pointed at questions it couldn't answer by thinking, running flat out, doing exactly what it was designed to do. The loop wasn't a sign that something was wrong with you. It was a sign that something hadn't been named yet. So here's where we land. Your brain isn't broken. It's solving a problem you haven't named yet. Name the problem, and the loop has somewhere to land. Now, there's a deeper layer to this, because you might be wondering, where did these questions come from in the first place? Why is your brain so unsure about whether you're safe, whether you're loved, whether you're enough? Those uncertainties aren't random. They were learned early, in the places where you first found out whether the world was safe to need things from. That's the subject of the next video, where the loop's questions actually come from, and what it means to finally answer them at the root. I'd start there next, and if this gave you even one moment of recognition, that feeling of someone finally describing what's been happening inside you, then subscribe, not for me, for you. Because understanding your own mind is the one skill that makes every other one easier, and that's the whole reason this channel exists. I'll see you in the next one.